Since its discovery in 1610 by Galileo, the rings of Saturn have enchanted us for centuries. Remarkably, we've visited Saturn before. Stunning photographs taken from the Cassini space probe have revealed that Saturn's rings are much more complex than you might think. So, what would it be like to actually go in person? How long would it take you to travel to Saturn? What would you see along the way? And could you survive in Saturn's rings? This is What If, and here's what would happen if you jumped into Saturn's rings. On October 15th, 1997, NASA, the European Space Agency, and the Italian Space Agency banded together to change the history of astronomy. Their mission was to study the Saturn system, a diverse mix of stellar objects made up of rocks, ice, and several moons. Together, they developed the space probe Cassini-Huygens, which was propelled on a 7-year journey to Saturn. Let's imagine we had the technology to bring you, traveler, along for the ride. What kind of adventure are you in for? Well, luckily, we're taking the scenic route. After a year of drifting through space and saying goodbye to Earth, our first stop is Venus. Don't worry, this isn't a layover. We're merely visiting the outer edge of Venus's orbit, giving you a gravitational speed boost as you pass by. This will allow you to save on fuel and take in the view of Venus's swirling scenery. After the first orbit, you'll get a nice boost of 7 kilometers per second. But we'll need one more journey around it for the optimal speed boost. This time, we'll be about 600 kilometers from Venus. I hope you have a strong stomach, traveler, as the gravitational pull might be like that time you ate funnel cake before going on that spinny ride at the fair. Oh, never again. After a quick spin around Venus, you'll be slingshotted towards Mars and Jupiter, but this part of the ride might get a little bumpy, so buckle up. You're about to pass through an asteroid belt. Fortunately, the chances of hitting an asteroid are pretty slim, as they are very spread apart, unlike what you see in the movies. Still, you never know. Just be prepared to take manual control in case your proximity sensors malfunction. Once you've made it through the scary part, it's fairly smooth sailing from here on out. Sit back and admire the view. On your right, in the distance, you'll see the red planet Mars. And on your left is Jupiter. Look! That tiny speck orbiting the gas giant is the Galileo spacecraft. A small yet welcome reminder of home. At this point, it's been almost 5 years. Wow! How time flies when you're being hurled through space. Saturn is our next stop. But is it safe? We're about to find out. After waiting a couple of years, doing lots of Sudoku, and rewatching all your favorite What If videos, we've finally arrived in orbit of Saturn. Surprisingly, the flat and solid ring structure you've seen in pictures back home were way off. These rings are complex systems of orbits subdivided by several different sections. Each of these rings are separated by gaps made from over 60 of Saturn's moons. The rings are made up of chunks of ice and rock, some as small as little boulders and some as big as houses. These are the remnants of comets, asteroids, meteoroids, and shattered moons torn apart by Saturn's gravity. All right, traveler, it's time for a spacewalk. You probably won't have much success walking on Saturn's rings unless you happen to land on one of its moons, like Methane, Pallene, or even Titan. which has been considered a potential site for a future space colony. But you'll want to keep your spacesuit on, as Titan is a chilly minus 179.6 degrees Celsius. At this point, you're almost twice the distance between the Earth and the Sun. Now for the moment of truth, the grand finale. As we approach the final rings of Saturn, we'll have to fly through them on a careful trajectory, orbiting Saturn 22 times to get our best travel shots. Here, you'd be only 2,000 kilometers away from Saturn's atmosphere. After about 20 years in space, you'd reach Saturn's interior. Let's be honest, you'd likely disintegrate, but thankfully, you were careful and managed to hang around on Titan instead, leaving the Cassini probe to do the rest of the work. The amount of data Cassini managed to send back to Earth is truly spellbinding, making it one of humankind's greatest success stories in astronomy. Maybe on our next voyage, we could take a closer look at Saturn's big brother, Jupiter. But not too close, because, well, that's a story for another What If.